What is the function in your junction? It's your boy, Future Boy Francis here. I want to take you on a little journey with me back to the year 1996, one of the most important years in the gaming industry, where we had heavy hitters like Super Mario 64 coming out that June, Tomb Raider 1 coming out later that year, Resident Evil, Parappa the Rapper, Mario Kart 64, Pokemon Red and Blue. By God, that was an amazing time for gaming. What a time to be alive. Where was I during that glorious time? Boy, my ass was in the final stages of development waiting to be released that February. But one game from that year stuck with me from childhood straight into my adult life. And that game is Crash Bandicoot. Now fast forward to June 2020. I'm a grown-ass man now and we're 3 years removed from the hype that was the Insane trilogy, which was a massive success, selling over 10 million copies in the first 8 months. But now, on that fateful day, June 18th, if you are looking for me, you can find me on the floor of my bedroom convulsing in joy, for my eyes have gazed upon leaks of Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Excitement was an understatement, cause we have been waiting 12 long years for a new installment in the Crash Bandicoot series. 2 days passed and the developers Toys for Bob put out a tweet stating that they will be making an official announcement on the 22nd. I was like, firstly, where do I know the name Toys for Bob? And yes, I too was traumatized by Madagascar the game for PC. And secondly, I was like, my boys, sign my ass up. The trailer dropped and I looked at it a couple million times. I genuinely believe half of these views right here were mine. And my reaction to everything that I saw was mixed and a bit meh, to be honest. But some of you all might be like, hey yo Francis, I thought you said you were the biggest Crash Bandicoot fan. Why you out here hating all of a sudden? And to be honest, I don't hate this game. I love this game so much. It just had some stuff that didn't sit all that well with me. What are those stuff you may ask? That's why we're here today, my top dogs and shutters. Cause today, you will hear this Trini boy rant and ramble and cause bacchanal through the YouTube lands. For today, I take my first step on my YouTube journey by sharing my thoughts, likes, dislikes, and most importantly, my opinion on Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. This review will be broken up into 5 separate categories: aesthetics, character models, story, gameplay, rants and rave, which will just be me giving an overall thoughts of my dislikes and likes of the game. First, aesthetics. Without a doubt, this is the most gorgeous looking Crash Bandicoot game in existence, second to none. The colors are popping, the lighting is excellent, every level in this game feels alive and bursting with beauty. Not all of them, but we'll get to that. But just look at this right here. Beautiful. After seeing what Toys for Bob did for Spyro the Reignited trilogy, the whole general presentation and the love that was poured into that game, I was excited for my boy Crash, that he was getting that same treatment, and trust me, they did not disappoint. This is a damn downright sexy ass looking game, and it gets the Future Boy seal of approval. But not everything looks wise I was a fan of, and this is why we'll jump our asses into character models. We'll be talking about the character models from my favorite to my least favorite. And we'll be starting with...
What's the matter, hero? Couldn't solo this one?
The Tropies. I honestly love the dynamic of Entropy and his wife, herself. Boy, I honestly don't know what to call that relationship, but one thing I could say, their design, oh boy, it is top tier. They look menacing, snobby, poised, sophisticated, and downright evil. This is the best Entropy has ever looked. Him and his wife, whatever. I'm just a big fan of his look. Next up, Dingodile. Damn, this boy chunky. My favorite out of all of Cortex's henchmen. He reminds me of your favorite uncle at the barbecue. And I think Toys for Bob had the same idea as well, giving him his own diner. In terms of his design, I liked how they enhanced his reptilian side and add scales coming up his back. For me, second best Dingodile design behind Twin Sanities. Next up,
Hang on guys, I'm coming!
Tana Bandicoot, aka Tickosaurus Rex. Toys for Bob had no damn right making her this damn tick. I remember when they revealed her in the PlayStation Underground vid and I was like, why does this Bandicoot have a dump truck behind her? I understand they designed her body structure to be similar to a gymnast with a larger lower body, bigger thighs to show that she's fit, agile, nimble, and trust me, in her gameplay it shows. To me she feels like the fastest character to control, but her overall design, great. Toys for Bob, good looking out with this one. Loved it. Next,
Crash! Crash! Crash!
Crash Bandicoot. Plain and simple, this is the best non-Naughty Dog's Crash design. Only thing I'm not a fan of was those red paw prints under his shoes. I know this is a bit biased, but it brings back bad memories from the dark days of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. And the further we stay away from those days, the better. His design pays tribute to his old ones while still feeling new and modern. He's expressive, well animated, and squash and stretch looks very good on this game, and that goes for everyone as well. But Crash model is very good. Next up,
Crash Bandicoot. At last, I, the great Neocortex, have you right where I want you.
Cortex. Wasn't a big fan of this one. It's not that it's bad or anything like that, but it's all boiled down to bias. Cortex reminds me too much of those Crash of the Titans, Crash Mine over Mutant days, and honestly, it's not my cup of tea. Don't have much to say about his design, but it's okay. Next up, last but not least,
Thank you so much. Wait, Tana?
Coco Bandicoot. Her design was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this review to begin with. I'm warning you all from now, a rant is incoming, and just remember this is just my opinion. So don't be getting all butthurt in the comment section. So anyways, let's go. This is the absolute worst Coco model I have ever seen. I know this is a bit nitpicky and a bit petty, but every time I look at her, she is just disappointing. Like, why does she look like a walking pile of noodles? Her body reminds me of a Sonic character with that beanbag ass looking body. Her Insane Trilogy design set the bar so high, and it was even improved upon in Nitro Fuel with all the skins that she got in that game. But this pile of walking twigs was a regression for me. I hated her design, and it is horrible in my humble opinion. And now I'd like to introduce today's sponsors. Not a damn person because your boy ain't that big yet. Please subscribe though. Next up, story. It's About Time takes up where Warp left off. Entropy and Cortex and Uka Uka stuck in some random dimension as babies in 1998. 22 years have passed and I assume that's enough time for them to grow back into adults. Uka Uka mustered enough power to rip a hole in the fabric of reality and passed out like a little punk. Like, come on man, you're a magical mass with the powers of gods and you're out here passing out like a little biatch. So then we search over to Crash chilling on the beach where he's then awoken by Aku Aku, aka Grim from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, with a few feathers duct taped to his scalp. And he tells Crash that he feels a disturbance and it has to do something with the quantum mass, this game's MacGuffins, and he thinks that Crash should go and check out Insanity Peak. We venture up to the mountain to discover a new mass called Lani Loli, aka Billy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, who informs them about the quantum rifts popping up all over the place, and they need to close them before the bad guys could reach to them, harness their powers, and use them all to destroy us all! His words, not mine. And in order to close them, we need to get 4 quantum mass: Lani Loli, Akano, Kapunawa, and Ika Ika. So Crash, Coco, and Aku Aku sets out to gather the quantum mass, close the quantum rifts, and bring back balance to the multiverse. They will go dimension hopping through various worlds and timelines, collecting mass with some help along the way, and try to stop the evil Cortex and Entropy once again. And to me, that's all I need in a Crash game, and that's why I'll give this story an A. Short and to the point. It would have gotten an A+, but come on, we just did time travel in the last game. And yes, I know, it was 22 years ago, but could I come up with something a little better than that? But even though it's nitpicking on my part. Speaking of part, this is the part where we hop on over into gameplay. Well, what can I say, is a Crash Bandicoot game. You spin, slide, belly flop, and smash boxes to win. But I wish it was that simple. You start off on the Wampa Islands and then you go to a junkyard world where you meet Engine, and his character design is okay. But Jesus Christ, his voice sounds like a prolonged fart going through a fan.
Not this time. I've got a backstage pass for you to get up close and personal with my weapon of mass depression.
So anyways, the second level of this world is where you're introduced to flashback tapes. There's one in certain levels, but the catch is you can't die in that level before collecting it, and if you do, you would not be able to. In some later levels they get ridiculous with how far into the levels they are, with some of them almost being to the end of the level. But collecting the tape unlocks 2D levels for Crash and Coco to play through, which are basically box smashing gauntlets which gets insanely difficult when coming down to the last few. Fun fact, I've been searching everywhere, but am I the only one that sees an eye popping up in the background of certain flashbacks levels? I hear a loud moaning at sometimes and see a creature pass in the background, but I can never make out exactly what it is. So please, can anyone tell me if I am not the only one that's seeing this? But the flashback levels are nice additions where you get some lore for the Crash Bandicoot franchise and get a jam out of classic Crash Bandicoot soundtracks. And because of these tips, I now know Crash's birthday is on the 19th of July. Where all my cancers at? After defeating Engine in a junkyard world in a decent boss battle, you are then introduced to the second mask, Akano. Or so you think, because he straight up just throws up the deuces and bounces his ass out into another dimension. Which is a pirate world basically, where you play through an amazing first level called Booty Calls, I see what you did here Toys for Bob. Then we move on to Hook, Line and Sinker, where you are first introduced to a pair of hips so wide that they each need their own area code. AKA Tana Bandicoot. As I said before, she is the most nimblest character in the whole game. She plays just like Crash and Coco, but just better basically. Her levels are centered around her grappling hook, where she can whip enemies, boxes and even traverse the level using it. After beating her stage, I saw a new level opened up for her called a timeline stage back in the junkyard world. So I hopped into it with excitement, knowing that I'm going to play a Tana stage. But oh boy, that excitement died soon after I played for about 5 minutes with Tana, then I was forced back to play as Crash for the rest of the stage. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. And on top of that, the stage has its own 6 gems to collect. Oh, might I add, every stage in this game, you have to collect 6 gems. 3 for collecting 80% of the Wumpa in the stage, 1 is a hidden gem, another 1 for dying less than 3 times, and another 1 for smashing all crates in every level. But I assume these levels that I would not have to collect these gems because it's basically the same stage that I'm playing over, just with a 5-minute Tana section. But as my mother always said, you never assume because you'll just make an ass out of you and me. So after leaving the pirate world, our heroes enter a new dimension called Tranquility Falls, where we encounter Embryo. FYI, I loved his design. He spews normal villain banter and runs away and tells me to meet him at the end of that world. Okay, cool, no problem. I beat the first level of that world and I see a Tana stage open up. I hopped in, played with her for about 3 minutes and then was greeted with the same damn nonsense as before. I was forced back to play as Crash and to go through the rest of the level I already played, which is a more difficult version to the original, with box placement rearranged and more hazards. And it was at this point I picked up on some BS Crash 4 was trying to sell me, but I ignored it and I continued blindly. I completed the next couple of stages and went to fight Brio in another decent boss battle, where he was turned into a pterodactyl, lays an egg and flies off. And at this point, this is where the review falls apart completely. Cause then Brio flies through all the previous worlds and drops inverted gems onto the levels, and this is where the game completely spits in your face and then slaps the spit that is on your face, cause you are now introduced to the inverted mode, aka Welcome to Hell. Inverted mode is basically every level but flipped, but each world has its own gimmick. Like the Wumpa Islands is Bat Vision, where you use sonar to see the level's obstacles, or the Pirate World where the levels has no color and every action that you do, whether you spin, slide or belly flop, it paints the world and restores color. Or the Prehistoric World or the Snow World, which are later down in the game, where their gimmicks are to see how long you can go without vomiting, because their levels look like what would happen if you pass your game disc between a sweaty pair of ass cheeks and then put it into the console. Not every gimmick was a hit, like the Food World with its underwater super slow-mo nonsense, like who seriously thought this was a good idea? So anyways, I continued fearing what was to come, and then I unlocked Dingodile and his stage, where he's trying to defend his diner from some bats for some reason which wasn't really quite explained, but nevertheless his stage was amazing. He caught me off guard when he shot bastard, like seriously? Dingodile swearing? I could get down with that, my boys. Then upon completion of his level, I see a Dingodile stage open up in the pirate world, and then I saw this level was linked to Booty Call. And it was at this point it hit me. This game is like a box of Cortex. It was 90% padding. If you're playing through this game casually, and main goal is to reach from the beginning to the end, not focusing on collecting gems, it is one of the most enjoyable games you will ever play. But let's be serious, this is a Crash Bandicoot game. You know collecting gems is a series staple since from the beginning of the franchise. But in order to do that, this friggin' game has the audacity to tell me that I need to play one level normally, play the timeline version of that same level, play the inverted mode of the normal level, then play the inverted version of the timeline version of that same level. So I need to play these levels 4 separate times. This is literally insane, cause Jesus Christ on a bread van. Where do I begin with this nonsense? Mind you, I have not even mentioned time relics as yet. Yes, relics have returned from Crash 3. And to be honest, I didn't even bother trying. After coming to terms with all this BS, I had to suck it up and literally force myself to enjoy the collecting of the gems aspect of the game. I already got used to having to play certain levels 5 to 6 times, but there are some worse offenders that just all out suck. And for that, here's a quick top 5 worst levels in Crash Bandicoot 4. Number 5. Off Balance. Love the art style, but oh my god, these 2 boxes here and right here always made me eat my own foot. I refused to look up online where they were, and I found them by accident after a whole damn week of combing through this level. Number 4. Run It By You. It is a very long level, and with the BS box placement as usual. And it has one of the most infuriating hidden gems location. I am sorry, I had to look it up online to find out where this one was. But let's be honest, there's no damn way I was supposed to know after hitting that box behind the barrel that I am supposed to backtrack to see a metal crate off screen to the right where the gem is located. This right here is maddening. Number 3. Crash Landing. Once again, beautiful level, but a riding section to get all crates can get several deaths by fire for my part. Number 2. Bears Repeating. It actually kinda ties in with Crash Landing, but it edges it out because of that dumbass Tana timeline stage that forces you to play this level a total of 6 separate times. Number 1. The worst level in this game? Toxic friggin' Tunnels. All I am doing right now is just typing the name of this level for the script, and I'm immediately getting goosebumps. Because whoever designed this level crawled straight out the pits of hell and did so. Playing through this level is one of the most painful, depressing, exhausting, and quite frankly, unfun thing I have ever experienced while playing a video game. It is unforgivingly hard, the music is depressing sounding, and don't even get me started on that gem gauntlet. After collecting all 4 gems from their respective levels, a door in this stage opens up to give you a final ultimate challenge that I could have done without. I know, it's a Crash Bandicoot tradition to do one of these before the end of the game. I don't want to be beating a dead horse, but this level was mentally draining. The level literally made me take a break from this game because it honestly made me feel not all that great. Also, this level loses even more points with me because throughout the game, every level had a distinct look, even though if it was in the same world. No 2 levels look the same. Toxic Tunnels can even get that right. The level is even less enjoyable because it looks identical to the level before it nitro processing, with this puke green acid everywhere. Levels like Crash Landing and Bears Repeating, even though just as infuriating, I can stomach them because they were cool, exciting and fun, and nothing looked nothing like what I saw before, and still being hard as balls. While Toxic Tunnel feels like a repeat of a previous stage and just downright isn't fun, especially that gem route. And the final section before the end, for me, one of the worst levels in the Crash Bandicoot franchise. The only redeeming quality of this level is the bonus stage. It is the best bonus stage in this game. I did that shit in one try. I know this review has already gone off the rails, and I haven't even mentioned the final playable character, Cortex. Trust me, I wasn't all that impressed. He moves the slowest out of everyone. He has a ray gun that turns enemies into blocks that you can walk on, or jelly pads that you can bounce on, and he can also use his weird headbutt charge. Well, that explains why he has a flat head. His levels are more puzzle oriented, and to me all of these stages were a chore to get through. I'm sorry, but Twinsanity did Cortex gameplay a lot better. The next major boss battle was Entropy and Femtropy. I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer, and judging by this review anyone will think I hate this game. But good God, who thought this fight was a good idea? It's just a chase sequence with occasional spinning. After building up Entropy like the big bad, even above Cortex I may say, the fact that he turned on Cortex and teamed up with himself, which is rather narcissistic, I was excited because to me, he and both she looked like they were groomed to be the big main evil villains of the story. And then I was presented with whatever this was supposed to be. This right here was a wimp of a boss battle. After defeating the trophies, we then enter the Snacks dimension, where gladly everybody gets their own levels. Who am I kidding? Not really. This whole section, this whole world was just reeking of disappointment. Crash and Coco will they share their first stage. Then Tana and Dingodile have to share a level. This level, it ain't as bad as Toxic Tunnels, but it was very infuriating. Enjoyable at some points, but still infuriating. After playing one last Cortex stage, a cutscene plays where Cortex now remembers, oh wait, I'm evil. And then Cortex kidnaps Caponawa, uses her power to take us back to where it all started, back to 1996. Where he tries to inform his past self not to use Crash as the general of his army, and his whole plan will be his biggest failure. But his past self does not want to listen. Then you play through the aforementioned nitro processing and the wet fart of a level that is Toxic Tunnels, then we make our way to what I say is the best example of a perfectly balanced level, Cortex Castle. It is hard as dog balls, but is a ton of fun to play through. And I could say with full confidence this was my favorite level in the entire game, second to none. After that bang off a final level, we make our way to the final boss, which is just Cortex using the powers of the quantum mass against Crash in a decent boss battle. And yes, I call all boss battles in this game decent because that's what they are, just decent, nothing more, nothing less. I had some difficulty with this boss battle at some times, but I prevailed eventually. So I beat the game, and after all that I just felt empty. I tried to get as much as I could on my first playthrough of this game, and it was one of the most unenjoyable platformers I have ever played in recent memory. I said earlier that I loved this game, and it is true, but the love that I have for this game is because I get to see my favorite gaming franchise being presented in the modern gaming scene, and the comfort that my orange boy has a place in the gaming industry. But as a game in general and a form of entertainment, it was a step in the wrong direction for me. I kept playing the game and I keep thinking to myself, when is it going to get fun? It literally makes me feel like I'm playing a let's test your patience simulator. And yes, my patience was tested. And the part that upsets me the most is that this is a finished game. At no point in time I encountered any bugs or any game breaking glitches. This is a very polished game. And Toys for Bob did an excellent job making sure this game is refined and smooth. Excluding the slide jump though, because that thing was complete ass. But it left a lot to desire in terms of the gameplay and what the game is asking you to complete the game fully. And it's plain and simple not fun at all, and it pains me to say this. But the one big positive I took away from this game is how wide it expanded the universe of Crash Bandicoot, and also all the new players that were introduced to the franchise through this game. And if any one of you all had a bad time with this game, and this was your first Crash Bandicoot game, there are loads of other Crash games that you can try out. Don't just make this one game sour your experience with the franchise. If you are looking for a game to give you a true Crash Bandicoot experience, I would suggest to you the Insane Trilogy. You will not regret it. One thing that I regret looking up was how to achieve 106% completion. And this is where I discovered insanely perfect relics. You get this by playing a level, getting all boxes, 80% of all Wumpas within that level, the hidden gem in that level, and do all of that without dying once. And you need to do that for every single level and every single timeline level in this game. And at this point I was like, you know what? This game could go suck a dick.